When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
Every Who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton. But where to get great prices on gifts, they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. Gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one Who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and low prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as Who's often do. Cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
Welcome to Nature Backed Camp. Tell us, what do you do at Renewell Energy?
Hi, Tarmo. Thanks for having me here. What Renewell does is we take idle oil and gas wells, of which there are millions in North America alone, and we convert them into energy storage, more specifically, mechanical energy storage. So we move a weight up and down inside the wellbore, and that weight has got a lot of potential energy when it's at the top of the well, and it transfers that potential energy through a wire to a winch. So as the weight's moving down the well, the winch spins backwards, if you want to think about it that way. We're pushing electrons to the grid while that's happening. You can think of that as us discharging. And then when electricity prices are cheap, or we are otherwise incentivized from the grid, and the weight is at the bottom of the well, we pull power from the grid and we winch the weight up towards the surface. So it's pretty simple, and it's basic physics. The real imaginative part is converting huge amounts of oil field infrastructure into clean energy asset.
So it basically becomes a mechanical asset. You kind of, right. I don't know, could lift a car when the power is cheap and then let the car come down on the platform when the power kind of, you can turn that energy into the electricity and money.
Yeah, several cars. The system we have operating today lifts a 30,000 pound weight.
30,000 pounds.
Like
that's 15 tons.
Yeah.
Wow. Why oil wells? Or does it make kind of?
That's a great question. Yeah, and I'll start with the economic answer. The real reason oil wells make sense, it's not just because they're deep, and it's not just because there's tons of electrical infrastructure out to them, but it's because each and every oil well in North America and beyond is a liability. The state and federal government says that every well must get eliminated. And in many places, that means more or less fill them full of cement and cut their heads off and bury them, which means every single well is a liability in terms of dollars. So every well costs every operator a certain amount of money to eliminate. So what we do is we go and we say, look, regulator, let's take California, for example. Look, regulator, you are imposing these quotas that these oil and gas companies have to eliminate so many wells per year. And that's good. They shouldn't be allowed to just sit around and do nothing with these wells, these idle wells. So what we go and we say, look, the pace of the number of wells getting eliminated every year is way too slow. We have 2 million idle wells in the United States. We eliminate about 20,000 a year. You can do the easy math. That's about 100 years until they're all cleaned up. And so we go and we say, look, these oil and gas companies, they need another option because the pace is just a little too slow. And there's an opportunity here to make sort of a win-win scenario. And that win-win scenario is you give the operators, the oil and gas companies, another means for eliminating the well in the regulator's eyes. So if you had 100 wells in California and the regulator said you have to eliminate 10 of them this year, and I approached you and I said, look, I think, Tarmo Oil and Gas, you have to plug and abandon or eliminate 10 wells this year. I think 5 of them are suitable for conversion at a lower price point than filling them full of cement, cutting their heads off. And you get to keep the difference. And you get to do 5 regular eliminations and 5 conversions. And the regulator will see that as your 10 that you have to do. And so now everybody wins. You get to save some money. I get to build energy storage, and the grid gets the capacity it needs to move around electrons in a way that it will fail without.
Mm. I mean, is it somehow, can you protect this innovation? Is it protected?
Do you mean like from a patent perspective?
Yes, like IP perspective, exactly.
Yeah. You cannot have a wide patent on moving a weight up and down. It's a pretty old idea. But you can patent a weight moving up and down inside of a well, and we did. But the whole goal of patents is to be both wide and effective. And so really there's 3 legs to Renewell's patent portfolio. Leg number 1 is what I just mentioned. If you want to move a weight up and down inside of an oil well, it's a little bit more technical than what I just described, talking about weight diameters, lengths, and flow rates, and fluid resistive forces and stuff. So that's one leg. The other leg is coordinating wells. So the real magic when it comes to what we can do from an energy storage perspective is when we have lots of wells to play with. So if the grid says, I need 1 hour of duration, and we've got 10 wells, then we lower all the weights perfectly simultaneously. So for maximum power over that 1 hour. Then the grid says, you know what? Actually, I need 10 hours of duration. Then we just raise all the weights, which we can do in 1 hour, and then we drop them perfectly sequentially. We lower them perfectly sequentially. And what you get is a 10-hour duration battery. It's just made up of various, what we call gravity wells being put together. And there's a lot of really powerful characteristics about that no other energy storage technology can touch. No other energy storage technology can recharge a 10-hour system in 1 hour. No other energy storage can hold 10 hours worth of duration and not lose any of it. What I mean by that is we have 0 self-discharge. So when the weight comes to the top of the well, we put a big mechanical brake on there and it just sits there. It's not going to lose any energy like a chemical system would. And last but not least, whether we're doing 1 hour, 10 hours, or 100 hours, it's all the same round trip efficiency. And everybody else playing in the energy storage world, they have to make some compromise. If they want to be really low cost, then they seriously sacrifice round trip efficiency. We don't really have to make that sacrifice. If the grid needs 1 hour, and that's the most lucrative thing for the next 10 years, not a problem. If all of a sudden the grid's willing to pay a massive premium for 100 hours of duration, well, we just change those wells to do that. We're doing it all at the same round trip efficiency, all at the same cost. So the way to think about cost is that it's the enabler of long duration. There's nothing technically prohibitive about a lithium ion battery doing really long duration, daisy chaining them the same way I just described. It's just they can't afford it. They cost too much.
The similar logic is in the hydrogen space, where hydrogen is used to balance the power of maybe smaller microgrids today, maybe not in a kind of the nationwide or the statewide applications, but basically when it's cheap, you turn the electricity into hydrogen, and when it's expensive again, then you turn that hydrogen back to electricity. Very much the same logic.
Yeah. I think hydrogen struggles in the round trip efficiency world. It's not a super efficient process.
I don't know about comparing it to the lifting something up and down. It is comparable, definitely, on the note of not losing much of the energy. It's one of those few chemicals where you can actually store it for a very long time without losing almost anything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But how did you come up with an oil well? I mean, have you been living in an oil well or kind of working in an oil well, or what's the background?
This is sort of a 2-part answer. The first one is I get this question a lot, and it's always a good opportunity for some humble pie. I didn't come up with it. It wasn't my idea originally. It was a very close friend named Walker Colt. We've been friends since the 5th grade, and we've just stayed friends. And I was a grad student at Stanford, and we were on the phone. We were just sort of batting around ideas. He's like, "Hey, I got one. Like, let's turn oil wells into gravity batteries." And my first response was like, "No way, that's not going to work at all." But the more we started playing around with it, the more we started filling out a spreadsheet, passing it back and forth, doing some math, and said, this could work. But the only reason that we were both discussing it is that, yeah, we were both in the oil and gas industry. So my background is, we were both from Texas, Houston specifically. I studied mechanical engineering, went to go work for Shell as a petroleum engineer for 5 years. I got to work in West Texas, in Canada, and Argentina. I was actually living in Argentina in 2017 when I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. Not live in Argentina. Argentina was great. I worked for Shell. I didn't want to be in the oil and gas industry. But I knew I wanted to be in the energy world at large. And so the more I learned about what we were trying to do on the electricity side of things, was just basically swap over from dirty and dispatchable to clean and variable. Like, wow, that sounds like it's going to be full of challenges. And those challenges are going to spark opportunities. And, I'm hunting opportunities here as a 26-year-old. So left Argentina, went to Stanford, where I was sort of the token oil and gas guy on campus. And I was just in the right place at the right time. It was my friend's idea, but I had the right background. I was in the right place. I knew a lot of professors who were basically VCs masquerading as professors, which is not a problem. It's great.
Same, exactly.
Yeah. And so I was in the right place at the right time.
You said earlier when we started that there are millions of oil wells. Is it really so many? I mean, I haven't lived in an oil-producing country. I have no idea how much of them are in the world.
Yeah, it's a scale that's hard to fathom until someone shows you a picture of it.
Okay.
And the go-to I always do is I pull up Google Maps and I type in Andrews, Texas. Andrew, like the first name. And you turn on satellite view and you will see just white dots everywhere, as far as the eye can see. And every white dot is an oil well. Well, it's more technically a gravel pad that's visible from space. And the scale is just absolutely going to blow your mind. But a quick lesson in demographics, because I think this is very interesting. In the U.S., there are about 900,000 active oil and gas wells, which means they make some amount of oil and gas every day. And then there are about 2.15 million idle wells, which means they don't make any oil and gas, but someone still owns them. Chevron owns them, or Exxon owns them, or Bill Johnson owns them. It's big and small. And then there are orphan wells, which sometimes people call abandoned wells. And nobody really knows how many of those are. There could be 50,000, there could be 500,000. But what really blows my mind is the ratio of active wells to inactive wells that most people don't know. It's about 2 to 1. And inside of the active well population, that 900,000, about 700,000 of those make less than 15 barrels a day, which means they're basically holding on for dear life to being considered active. So those are called stripper wells. So you've got this actually pretty small slice of all those wells that make a significant amount of oil and gas. You got this huge bump of wells that make just enough to stay alive. Then you've got this even bigger bump of wells that don't do anything. And then you've got a slightly smaller amount of wells that are just a huge problem. But what I like to call the orphan well apocalypse is one of the things I'm trying to prevent, which is any significant percentage of either of those populations shifting down into the orphan population. Because when Biden was in office, he carved out $4.5 billion towards cleaning up orphan wells, which is great. But to clean up every single oil and gas well in the United States is a $450 billion problem. So $4 billion, is nothing.
It's 1%.
Yeah, it's 1%. So it's just a scale of problem that I don't want to pay for. I don't want anybody else in the United States to pay for it. So we should give the oil and gas companies the chance to repurpose these wells and then do the right thing when they're done being energy storage, which is have the money to eliminate them properly.
What's the kind of scale opportunity for you guys? Can you use all of them and power the whole United States, or what's holding you back from doing that?
Yeah. I wish we were like the silver bullet to solve all of the U.S.'s energy storage needs. No, each well needs to pass through about 7 criteria before we deem it suitable for conversion. So we're pretty picky, at least with our first product offering. So we think there's about 10% of that idle well population is suitable. I mean, that comes out to 200,000 wells. It's still a lot. The stat I like to give is Exxon has about 20,000 wells in the U.S. So we're talking about several Exxons worth of wells being converted. So 10 Exxons. So that would easily launch us into the gigawatt hours worth of storage, which would be great. But we're going to need a lot of energy storage if the projections are correct. So we wouldn't be like, we wouldn't be like 0.01% of the energy storage needed, but we also wouldn't be 90%. Hopefully we're something like 5 to 10% of what the total energy storage build out is.
What else would fall into that category? Of course, some kind of batteries.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so 90% of the way that the U.S. stores our energy today is through pumped hydro. And lithium ion gets all the news because it's the only thing that can grow, or it's the only thing growing at a significant pace. Lithium
and the only one
hydro,
which is technology.
Yeah. Lithium pumped hydro there's just too few suitable sites to really meet the demand. In fact, we're tearing down dams more often than we're building new ones. So yeah, it'd certainly be lithium ion batteries. I'm not saying there's no place for them, or whatever other sort of really awesome chemistry is coming down the pipeline. But a lot of the chemistry solutions have struggled on price. Some of them have been revised up lately. Their projected price has been revised up, and that's tough. We need really low cost energy storage. We need something that's like $20 per kilowatt hour, and right now lithium ion batteries are like $300 per kilowatt.
That's quite a cost challenge.
Yeah.
So I have no idea.
The way we approach it is we intend to build $5 per kilowatt hour storage. And that's all because of this sort of dual business model. We didn't figure out how to make steel for cents on the dollar. That's just not possible. We create a world in which the oil and gas companies pay us to do this conversion. And then we use that money to more or less build at least a portion of our CapEx. And then the price we pass on to the utility, to the grid, is this very, very, very low price. That's how we intend to create really low cost energy storage. It's a bit of business model innovation.
Yeah. How far are you from, actually, making the first one operational or having the first 100 operational?
Yeah, 100 is going to be a couple of years for sure. We have one operating now in California. And yeah, it moves a 30,000 pound weight up and down these are all going to be
the US numbers.
Yeah, US numbers. So like we said, 15 tons, and let's see here, about 3,000 meters of actual well depth. And then I don't know how to do that one on the top of my head. It's 7 inches wide, so it's really skinny.
Yes.
So I guess it's probably like
less than 20 centimeters.
Yeah.
17 and a half, 18, something like that.
Yeah. It'd be like a sixth of a meter. So they're really skinny. Most people kind of visualize they visualize old water wells that are like blocked in stone, like a little bucket in the wheel and all that. No, they're really narrow. They're like this wide.
It's like pipes.
They're like pipes. Yeah, they're like pipes under your house almost. And so, yeah, we build a really long, really skinny, very heavy weight, move it up and down the well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Oh, okay. So you asked upping us. So in order to remember the beginning part about you have an oil and gas company in California, and you need to know the regulator is going to say it's okay to meet your quota with this new type of conversion.
Yeah.
We got to go state by state and convince these regulators that's an option. So we've done it in 3 states: California, Colorado, and New Mexico. Unfortunately, well, maybe fortunately, it's the federal government doesn't have a lot of control of oil and gas wells in the United States. It's mostly a state issue. So we got to go state by state. But I mean, we've got California, which is one of the hardest states to do anything in. And so we're really, really excited about that. The Governor Newsom, just signed our bill like 6 weeks ago. So we're extremely excited about what's going to happen next there. And for the most part, we don't intend to convert a lot more states in the near term, because between those 3 states, there
will be plenty.
Yeah. So we kind of have our work cut out for us. But the biggest barrier is, one, it used to be regulatory, but honestly, all those 3 states, they happened in the last 9 months, which is pretty incredible. So we've been blessed with a lot of success on the policy front in the short term. And then the rest of the barrier just comes down to value engineering. It's just getting enough customers to say yes so that we can install enough of these things to learn how to make them much more efficiently.
And as you said, that the first 3 states already have so many old wells that you have probably work all carved out for a few years at least. So you're not dreaming about the global expansion yet.
Not yet. Every once in a while, I get somebody to reach out. Like somebody reached out from, ultimately Austria, but they were talking to me about wells in Romania. I was like, whoa, I had no idea that there were wells in Romania. And that could be a potentially great fit from what they told me. And it sounds like they checked a lot of the boxes.
Absolutely. And I'm sure there are many other countries where it would check a lot of boxes. So I'll be following your newsfeed closely from now on.
I appreciate that.
And I hope our listeners will too. Any kind of final words to wrap up the discussion?
We're hiring 3 positions right now. If you find yourself interested in the California/Colorado area, look us up.
Exactly. If you're looking for oil engineers or...
Yeah, it doesn't have to be somebody who's, ex Chevron or something like that, or ex Shell like me. We want somebody who's passionate about what we're doing, and obviously has some subject expertise, but mostly passionate.
Good. That's a good note. Passion about turning the old oil industry into something a bit more sustainable.
That's right.
Thanks, Kemp, for you.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you like the show, subscribe and leave a good rating on the podcast platform of your choice. It would mean a world to us.
You deserve better healthcare, and so do we all. Medicine in America is a podcast that shares real stories of patients and doctors reshaping the future, because the revolution in care isn't coming, it's already here. Real stories, real change, a better future for healthcare.
Electricast. Welcome to the Candle Power Hour. Come with us backstage behind the scenes of show business spanning over 4 decades and bringing you the experiences that can only be told by the people who were there.
Our guests are from the A-list, the F-list, and everyone in between. Get set for some of the most insane, hilarious, and inspiring stories you will ever hear.
I'm Mercury.
And I'm Diego.
Your host for the Candle Power Hour.